choose. Welcome everyone to Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDOstream. I'm DDO's community manager Kurt Oven, and I'll be with you for the next hour hanging out, doing some Q&A. I'll have the latest news in just a minute here. Then we're probably just going to chill because it is cold and Snowpeaks is going on, and we have things related to that. So let's just kind of hang and have a nice casual Friday, and we'll run some Snowpeaks. I'm going to go on to Wayfinder, which is a character I've got there that doesn't yet have the Immortal Sun Flask and could probably use some decent filigree. So I thought I'd just sort of run through that and tear through that later on in the show after we get done with news and after we get done with some Q&A. So welcome everyone. How's it going? The biggest bit of news is a little bit old now, but if you haven't seen it yet, we do have our producer's letter out that got released on January 27th and does have a roadmap explaining a little bit about what we're doing in 2023. I can talk a little bit about some of those bullet points in just a second. Like I could provide a little bit more information about the PAX East panel and a little bit more about what we have going on there. And I can also talk a little bit about our upcoming preview plans and such in the coming weeks. The other bit of news, though, is Snowpeaks is here, and it's available through February 12th. So plenty of time to get your stuff. And I think I'll show you today how easy it is to get some of that filigree if you need it. It's pretty easy to do as long as you've got a stack of frozen keys with you. And you can find out more about that on DDO.com. The other bit of news is this is the final weekend of the 7th season of the Hardcore League. The 7th season runs until Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, February 7th. That's next Tuesday. We're going to be shutting down the 7th season of the Hardcore League. We'll be pulling the leaderboards, and a short time later, we will reopen the game worlds, and we'll be going for the after party. And that after party is currently scheduled to run through March 7th. Now, that is some new information for Fridays at 4 here today, but I'll be getting it out in other locations here in the very near future. But the after party is going to run through March 7th. So that's something that's happening here. Get your stuff done that you want to get done in the 7th season of the Hardcore League if there's anything left for you to do. Otherwise, maybe just get your characters ready, and we'll be doing that next week. The other bit of news is that we are going to be finally doing our free transfer period to Orion and Sarlona. That starts on February 8th, and that's going to run through the 28th. Free transfers to Orion and Sarlona only. This, remember, goes all the way back to really late October when there were some issues where people were unable to transfer from the end of the last hardcore season to these worlds. And so as a stopgap measure, we sent them to other game worlds and said we would do this, which we are now doing. It's a topic of conversation, is it not, this week, as we've had people discuss the ramifications about what could or could not happen during this free transfer period. I personally am expecting a fair amount of, I guess you could call it daily dice consolidation on some of these game worlds. I think we're going to have some people who, have mains or alts or whatever on these game worlds and want to consolidate some of the free stuff. And so I do think we'll be seeing that. Otherwise, really, the purpose of this is to get people the opportunity to do what they've been wanting to do for quite some time now, which is finally get a subset of characters to these game worlds. And so it's going to be going on for a few weeks through February 28th. And you can read more about that on DDO.com. There is a lot that doesn't come with you when you transfer worlds, so you do want to make sure you check out that article. I actually linked to the full world transfer guide in the article, but I also specifically cut out the stuff that doesn't come with you, because I know that that's what a lot of people want us to, or want to know heading in. So that is like your friends list. That is your guild name, level, airship, amenities, membership ranks, really anything guild. Your reincarnation cash does not come with you. Things you've got in the auction house, mail, does not come with you. The stuff in your shared account bank, of course, does not, but some people don't really think about that until afterwards and like, oh, wait a second. Crafting storage as well. Your astral shard balance creature companion stable and mount stable will not transfer with you. Those are the way it works and the way it's going to work here for character transfers. So you also can't be the leader of a guild. That makes sense because the guild doesn't carry over. But it also means, remember, that if you go back to that world, that stuff is still gone. It's not waiting for your character to come back to. Once you've transferred off the game world, it's gone. So be careful, really, before just sort of willy-nilly transferring characters all over the place, huh? And read that article over on DDO.com. But that's going to be kicking off next week. Otherwise, the bit I could mention is, let's see. We have another Lamania coming up, not next week, but the week after is the plan for that. That could be the final preview as well of Update 58, which is, as you might expect, coming out somewhere pretty close to our anniversary, which is February 28th. And so this will be potentially our final preview, not next week, but the week after. And then we'll have more information about the formal release date of Update 58 soon. But it's our anniversary patch, so you know it's going to be around that time. And that's the way it goes. So, all right. Do we have anything in chat then before I maybe head in game? You know, I've seen the concerns about this free character transfer period. I guess we'll have to see. I think for really when it comes down to it, if you're happy with your friends playing on the world you're playing on, then you really don't have a reason to transfer. And if you're not in that position, then okay, you know, this is an option for you. And if you've been going from server to server doing gold rolls for a while, and you want to get that all on one of these worlds, then I expect that'll happen too. But really the focus of it, and I think the purpose from what we want to communicate is this is just for people who want to do this because they transferred to another world because we told them to, for the end of the last hardcore season. And this will facilitate the closure of that issue, essentially. And I think for some, there are players out there who want to do that, and so they will now get this opportunity. And if it has wider side effects, well, then I guess we'll just have to take a look and respond appropriately as that stuff happens. But I am personally, I don't think expecting. I mean, I do expect a lot of consolidation, so I expect we're going to see a lot of transfers. But do I really think it's going to lead to a shift in who's playing where? I guess we'll see. There's no Immortal Sun Flask style item in this year's Snowpeaks other than the Immortal Sun Flask back. And yes, I will talk about the filigree here in just a second. I imagine we will have... I hadn't actually considered it until just now. Yes, there will definitely be some kind of anniversary live stream. Maybe it'll even be that Tuesday. We'll see what we can do. All right, I think we're about ready to head in game. So let me turn up the volume a little bit, and I can talk while I do this, I think. So, I'm not doing the climb this time because I'm going to show you real quick how to get the stuff. But there is one thing I wanted to look up before I do that. And that is, okay, so one quick note about our PAX East panel that was in the producer's letter this year. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that just so that everyone was up to speed as to what's going on. We're having some developers of the DDO team presenting at PAX East this year, which is a big game convention that happens at the Boston Convention Center. And it's happening in March. And the discussion is going to be something along the lines of how the devs build dungeons. And we're going to be having a user input element to this as well, which is that in the very near future, we're going to be running a poll. It'll be linked to all across social media and the forums and probably even the launcher. And it's going to have a couple of questions in it that will help spur the creative process that the developers are going to be using to essentially live build and live brainstorm these dungeons on stage at PAX East. And it should be a pretty good time. My understanding is it will be live streamed as well. We'll have more information about the specifics as we learn them and as the process gets closer to it. As of right now, it isn't clear what day it's going to be yet. I think that work is happening really this week and through the weekend and things like that. So we expect to know in the near future when this panel's going to be. And then once we know, we'll let you know. Could be Thursday, Friday, Saturday in terms of PAX East. The plan is to have a community meetup that same day for obvious reasons. We don't want people who go to PAX maybe in at least some part to see the panel to not be able to go to the meetup because they didn't buy a 2-day badge or whatever. So it's going to be the same day as the PAX presentation, and I'm not sure if that means Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, but stay tuned for that as well. We actually have, we're looking to take over a space for a few hours that evening for a meet and greet, some swag, and general fun sort of thing that we really haven't been able to do outside of the thing we did for the other game in Germany this year. We haven't been able to do that since pre-COVID, so it should be a pretty nice time to be able to get together with people in the area already for PAX East who are DDO or other game Lotro fans as well. That's all I know about our current schedule. I don't think we're going to be at Gen Con. I have not heard of any plans to go to Gen Con. I would love to go to Gen Con. I don't know if I can do it this year. We'll have to see what happens. But that's pretty good information though about PAX East, and this could be pretty exciting. We really haven't done anything like this before on the DDO side. There have been some people from the DDO team who have spoken at panels at PAX, but nothing quite like this. So it should be a really fun time, and I'm really looking forward to share more with you about it here in the coming weeks. All right, let's get this done. So the main thing I want you to know about the Snowpeaks climb is you only need like 10 gold and 50 silver, and yeah, that means you have to grind through this a little bit, but you kind of don't need to worry about these coppers so much. Not if you're going for the new filigree. Sure, pick it up if you want to, but I wouldn't go out of my way to worry about the copper pieces here when you're going for these filigree sets. Just go through the slide, pick up the silvers, pick up the golds, and don't worry about the rest. It'll save you a few seconds. It's not like it's particularly hard to get these things, but you'll have more than enough copper for anything that you want after having gone through this process a few times. Okay, let me check. I need to refresh my own page here. I am not seeing... Gosh, is my video working? Okay, my video is working. I was worried there for a second because I was all frozen on my own screen. You do want to speak to the NPC at the end. You do want to pick up the chest, because it has things for you. And you can finish out, but you can just exit the dungeon through the dialogue. And then go back, rinse, and repeat. Before we do that, though, let me show the new loot. Or what else you can get. The Icy Potion of Jumping is something well worth in my opinion, using your extra silver coins for. That's the one I tend to go for. Featherfall's not bad either, but and honestly, these gems are kind of fun too. But you know, there are augments here for dexterity. This is a festive bonus +2, but that's not what we're really looking for. This is basically all the old stuff. The new stuff here is this. These Snowpeaks Gifts Filigree. And it gets you a bunch of stats: charisma, dexterity, movement speed of 30%, which is pretty nice as well. The imbue die, which I understand doesn't stack with the item from the raid, but otherwise from the, is it Feywild raid? But otherwise, is it Feywild raid? I can't remember which raid. Either way, it is +1 imbue die, and I think there may be some bits to work out on that one. But Snowpeaks Gifts, dodge and max dodge is another one here. And then you've got a little bit of kind of cold spell power. And then hamstring ward is nice as well. You're warded against hamstring style effects. And again, I understand there may be a little extra tweaking we may need to do. There are some things that are hamstring style effects that really aren't typed hamstring style, and it looks like we may need to play catch up on a few things. There is a trade-in for your bronze to silver. So, something to keep in mind in terms of your silver. Then you can go silver to gold as well. Oh, and sorry, real quick. I don't think I mentioned that they do have a set bonus. So let me go to that. Oh, which the 4-piece is actually kind of nice. That does mean you have to have 4 filigree, but you're immune for most forms of the slow spell. Not bad for an easy sort of acquisition. Anyway, so like I say, ignore the copper. You'll have plenty. And go for the gold and silver. I got it done myself. I got all 3. Although I did have a few coins left over from... That's the other thing, is the coins don't expire, so they carry over year to year. So you may already have this stuff. But this is if you don't have the coins. You're starting from scratch like I am on Wayfinder here, because I just haven't had a character on Wayfinder I've run the Snowpeaks event on, I don't think, before. But you just sort of rinse and repeat this a little bit. But I think it's a pretty fun, easy event to get some decent treasure for. Then there is the Immortal Sun Flask on the jumpy bit, which stresses me out big time. I think I'm still going to try doing it on the air here today, although I don't know why. Why do I do this to myself? I was running it. I got the Sun Flask over on Orion, and got it done. It took me 3 tries still to get all the way to the end, because I make stupid mistakes, and I'll just, like, fall, because I'm an idiot. But I can get it done, so I know I can get it done still, and so I'll do it. But it's like when you go live on the air, you get nervous. At least I get nervous, especially if I start screwing up. And so we'll see how it goes. I may bail if I'm just having a bad time. All right, well, I can explain the Sun Flask here in just a little bit. It's a particular item that is available in the climb section of the Snowpeaks event. Sort of a deliberately hidden item. Well, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that now, since I just talked about how much it makes me nervous and I don't want to. Let's do it. Here's the difference, and I'm not going to try this live because I know what happens when I do. But when I'm not playing on the live stream, I just roll. I don't second guess myself, and I just roll. And I think that makes it easier. And then I overthink it because I don't want to screw up on the show, and I make it worse. What I need to do is just sort of let it flow and let it go that way. Yep. This one will kind of get you a little bit if you're not careful, in my experience. This one too, but there's a tree bit here that I struggle with sometimes. There we go. Oh! That's what I'm talking about. Nobody saw anything. You didn't see that. It's fine. See, it'll get you, though. That's the thing. But this is meant to be tricky. Once you get the hang of it, once you kind of get the flow of it down, it rolls not bad. But you can still screw up. Come on. But when I'm just playing by myself, no headphones, no nothing, I'm just doing this. I tend to roll through it without really much concern. And then when I'm live on the air in front of everybody, I get nervous. Because I don't want to screw up. And, Anyway, I find this to be one of the trickier parts. There's a couple other bits too, but this section is tricky. Uh-oh. Okay. There we go. There we go. All right. So, yeah, well, that part often kind of gets me, to be honest. I struggle with that section a little bit. The tree section in particular tends to mess me up. There's one section on the roof here, too, that we'll probably see. And then there's one of these that I tend to, if I'm going to fall, I'm going to fall on one of these. We'll see. I jump up this one. Main thing on this to know is you don't have to. You can actually run all the way up, but if you need to, you'll hang on to the side there. There we go. And the same with this one. Just in case. Now, this section can also be tricky. It's not too bad. Not this part, anyway. As you see, I tend to... And maybe this is all honestly part of my problem, but I tend to go vertical so that I can kind of see where I'm jumping and landing more easily, but I probably shouldn't do that, but I do anyway. And then I overcompensate. Alright, so this section up here will get me sometimes too. It's this one right here. Alright, so normally you would go on to the rest of these snow peaks, but we are after this immortal sun flask. So instead we're going around this way. Around to the other side. Now, depending on your risk aversion, we're going up there is where we're going. So depending on your risk aversion and your skills and things like that, you don't actually have to hit all of these things. Well, because I'm being Mr. Safety, I'm going to. Alright, here we are. So back here is the Immortal Sun Flask. It's a thrown dart, accepts sentience, which is kind of sweet because you can put these filigree into it. If you want to, as even an offhand thing, because it's pretty easy to get the filigree. It basically can create a small percentage chance to create a light burst. It has Ghost Bane, which is pretty good, Flaming Blast, Good Blast, returning, and an empty red and purple augment slot. So, in my opinion, is an excellent... I'm not really a ranged character, but I need a ranged item weapon that you can then put an extra sentient thing into and a whole bunch of filigree and some extra augment slots that you have. It is also bound to account, so you really don't need more than one of them on each game world. Which, depending on what you just experienced and your thoughts about it, is either probably a good or a bad thing. But it's a really nice item. I like it a lot. And it really isn't that hard to get. If I can do it, you can do it. Oh, yeah, okay, I did. I mean, I'm not saying my ability to do something set is basically the lowest possible bar that you could meet, but it might be sometimes. So, I guess I'm curious what your experience is on using these jump potions. Sometimes, oh shoot, I feel like I actually shouldn't be using the jump potions because I'm used to the distance that I get without them. And then I tend to overshoot with it, so yeah. I have not really heard of people using the Immortal Sun Flask as sort of the main weapon for a ranged build. I suppose it could be done, but I don't really think that's likely. Maybe I'm wrong though. But for me, it's a great weapon that basically anyone can wield because it's simple. And you can just sort of use it on any character that needs a quick offhand, uh, hey, let's just use range on this thing for a while, or kind of secondary weapon option. And it gets the job done too, sometimes, for because the light damage and ghostly and things are great for some undead, as you well know. There we go. These can be a little tricky too. That's sort of the point. Yay! I did it. What kind of crystal or mineral would they be? I don't know. Grapeite. It's true, you can also go to the checkpoint and go back to it if you want to. Why don't the Night Revel stuff stay all year? The point is to have to reacquire the currency every year. That is the point. So I understand that maybe you would prefer to kind of be one and done on the grind of Night Revels, but that's sort of the point, is that you have to run it fresh every year. So that's the why on that. Let me go back actually to some other questions. So my stream froze for about, looks like maybe 5 minutes here. And now your questions are repopulating. When is the forum update? The forum update is going to be pretty soon. I don't have an exact month for you, but I would expect it to be in 2023, perhaps in the first half of 2023. For example, next week I'm doing some work to actually populate, create all the threads and form structure and things like that on a version of it that's being worked on in an internal environment. So I know that the new forms are coming along and they will be happening pretty soon here, but there's still some work yet to do. So until that work is done and then it's put into the wider sort of release calendar, I can't get you more of a heads up than that. But it's actively being worked on as we speak. When will Update 58 be coming out? Currently slated before the anniversary. Hey, Titan, nice to see you. How about making a legendary Tome of Learning for bonus XP? I don't think at the moment going from level to 30 to 32 is much of a concern. I think it's been fairly painless for most folks. I would expect at some point in the future, as we progress through the 30s, there will come a point where having a tome of legendary XP of some kind might make more sense. But nothing really no actual plans to do something like that I'm aware of. It's not been that hard to get there. Will the discussion go online after the event for those not going to PAX? That remains to be seen. I would expect to see some number of content creators, for example, perhaps record the event just so that they can make a video talking about it, for example. But if it's streamed by the Twitch or by the PAX East organization, then ultimately its archival status will be dictated by PAX, not us, right? It would be my expectation that people will be able to access it afterwards, but how exactly that's going to be done, I think, remains to be seen. But we'll learn more in the coming weeks here. I don't know why Night Revel's keys only stack to 10. Maybe they should stack to like 100 or something. That's a good question. I think it's really just a matter of what number was selected at the time of its creation. All right. So, yes, so people are basically saying I did it wrong on the Sun Flask, and clearly it worked, but a better solution would be to have gone forward a little bit, hit that checkpoint. That way, if I do fall in the process of getting the Sun Flask, you would go back to that checkpoint rather than the one below, which is perhaps a little more difficult to get back from. In my case, though, on this video, I didn't have to worry about it. And usually when I get to that point, I've not really struggled to get around the corner to get that Sun Flask. It really hasn't been much of an issue for me. And as you see, it wasn't the problem on this run either. I did fall twice. Once kind of stupidly and once just because it happens to me. Oh no, did I miss? I think I just missed a silver. Darn it. I was looking over at chat. Someone is saying, to be honest, they did not like hearing that we were roughly planning a level cap every other year that Sev had mentioned as something that we were kind of roughly doing. I wouldn't hold us too much to that. I think it'll be whatever it ends up being, but, something like that. Do we see the game surviving till 2030? Yeah, totally. I do. I do. As long as you're here, we'll be here. I think it's a cheesy way to say it, but it's totally true. We can keep this game running, I think, largely as long as there are people interested in supporting us. That seems totally plausible to me. It is exceptionally cold in New England right now. We're actually going to get a raw temperature of about -10 by tomorrow morning and wind chills of -35. This is Fahrenheit. And don't ask me what that is in Celsius. But it's cold, and it's cold right now. We're at like -10 or something out there, and it's blustery windy. I had some internet issues earlier this afternoon, but everything seems to be fine. So hopefully the wind and ice and that isn't going to bring anything down. But it is cold right now. I grew up in Minnesota, so the idea of it being 10 below is not really all that big a deal. But, they build houses in Minnesota for it because they're used to it. They're like, well, you're going to have to handle a snowstorm like that or two. Going to be -10. Better put in that good insulation. Pay off many years to come. Maybe they don't do that so much in old houses and stuff in New England. And so we got everyone freaking out about their pipes freezing and like, well, if we just crank the heat up at the house. And yeah, there are a lot of places even beyond New England who are even less prepared for the kind of cold weather that they've been seeing. So I'm not trying to make light of it either. It is dangerously cold outside. My cat doesn't think so. My cat thinks I'm just punishing her by not letting her go outside. But I actually have a reason, and it's not because I don't feel like taking her outside. It's because little kitty paws definitely can't handle it. I don't know exactly where the kitty is. The kitty is mad. That's what I can say. The kitty is mad. Because she's been wanting to go out all afternoon, and I've been saying no. She typically goes outside on a leash. Even as a little baby kitten, I was able to train her to use a leash, and it's been nice. That means just about every day, for the most part, maybe 5 times a week, she gets to go outside and just sort of eat grass in the yard and roll around and just do cat stuff. But she doesn't understand winter weather like this, or weather in general. It'll rain and she'll go out I'll be like, you don't want to go out. And then I'll take her out and she'll give me this look like, why did you do this? Yeah, thanks very much for stopping by the show here today. This is definitely a pretty chill stream here today. I would expect to see things ramp up as well in the coming weeks. Um, People have been really busy right now, and I myself have got some things going on that I've been busy working on, like some of the forums and things behind the scenes. But I do want to get Tolero on at some point in the near future to do a Q&A. We do have an anniversary live stream we'll do, and I would expect to see some interviews related to that. That'll be when Update 58 comes out. People have already seen on Lamania that we got a free quest coming, and we've got the 3 free archetypes that are going to be arriving as well with Update 58. So I myself am trying to figure out what I'm going to do re-archetypes. I kind of want to make... I think I'm going to go Dark Hunter. I think I'm going to do a Dark Hunter first. But I haven't quite decided yet. I'm not a big Druid player, so Acolyte of the Skin, I will probably leave to others to check out right away. But I want to do, at the very least, Dark Hunter and see what else. And probably run it on the show here as well. Currently, in terms of my game time, it's been pretty chill. I've been trying to itemize my character on Orion and making some progress there. Running some Reaper quests as well to get a little bit of Reaper XP finally. And I just have been popping over onto a couple other characters that I need to get sorted out too. I've got one on Sir Lona that is in the works, and this one on Wayfinder that I'm getting up ready for the stream a little bit. And so that's, but mostly it's been on Orion working on my gear, because my gear is still fairly poor, but a little better than it was. Running a lot of Dread stuff, really. I find the Dread Saga to be relatively quick, and pretty good way to get dinosaur bone crafting, Reaper XP, loot, and a few other bits all in one go. I agree that Snowpeaks is not really meant to be like a main thing that you're supposed to be doing for weeks here. I'm kind of grinding through this on the show just to show how relatively easy it is to do. But I agree that it's not meant to like be the thing you do all the time. You can just kind of pop in when you get free keys and get your filigree, or you could spend an hour doing it like I'm doing here and then pretty much get everything you want. I don't think we have any intention to bring back the old Rezia Ice Games Icy Burst weapon upgrades. I have not heard of any intention to do something like that. Oh, and there we go. We got 10 minutes left. So, alright, well, let's see where we left off then. That was a stack of 10 keys. One was used for the climb. And where did we end up? I think the first one I want to get is probably that. Let's do the Imbue dice. Alright, so I got 70 and 206. So there we go. That's enough for all 4 of them right there. So I will get the Imbue dice. I will get the dodge and max dodge. We'll get the hamstring ward. And I will get movement speed, I guess. But I'm already getting that. about... I could do Dex. I don't think I actually get... Yeah, do movement speed. Sure. Alright. And that'll have to go into... my current sentient gem I don't think has room for the 4. And I would like to say I'll probably put it on the... Oops, wrong one. I'll probably put it on the... Immortal Sun Flask anyway. But... because I'm going to be replacing that at some point here too. So that's, I guess, what I could show you for that. And then, of course, you got a ton of cookies. So, do I have a cookie bag in this character? Let's see one. No. Well, I will do that before I... before I call it on this server for the end of Snowpeaks. I will make sure to go in and get a cookie jar or something and sort out my cookies. I don't want to flood my inventory right now. So, oh, and I had quick swapped out before I go live. This is what I'm usually running with on this right now on this character. But I needed Featherfall because of the Snowpeaks climb. I can't provide hints on the new Epic Destiny, other than to say that it is currently underway. I've seen some planning documentation about it. In terms of the skating rink over on the Evening Star side, the reason it is gone is because it's tied to the same event that the Rizia Ice Games were tied to. I think there's a thought that at some point in the future, we would like to bring back the Evening Star ice skating as a Snowpeaks event. And I think it's just going to just be a little bit of time until that work can get done. But that's as to why it's not around, even though Rizia Ice Games. Now, Rizia Ice Games had some problematic issues with them, which are why we're not bringing that back. Plus, it wasn't very... It was just an event that was in need of replacement, and so we've done that work. I guess I would put it that way. Oh, I think I need to start... I don't really have time to start a quest here. I'll just pop out into the wilderness then for 5 minutes while I talk. I think overall Rizia, it was fun. I liked Rizia Ice Games, but it caused some problems. There were some systems issues with it. It was contributing a little to lag in some cases. And it was just overall an event that we moved to Snowpeaks for. But the Midwinter Festival only really struggled in that its itemization system was aged. Its itemization system aged somewhat poorly, I guess would be one way to describe it. And so, but the event itself was pretty cool. And so I think that the odds that it comes back in the future are moderate, right? We definitely have heard from some folks that they would like to see it. And, if they'd like to see it and we'd like to see it, then it'll probably happen, right? So I've been running on a Dark Apostate as well, Yob Sagath, and I have seen that behavior a little bit, but not in a way that actually causes it to not work. Like, I've seen that on the res thing a few times, and I'm wondering if maybe there's some erroneous text happening. I have not actually had a cast fail when I've seen that cast fail thing go off when I'm trying to res someone. And they accept the res and everything seems to be fine. So, I'm not quite sure what's up with that, but I too have seen that myself. I've been meaning to file a report on that, actually. Where it's something we need to look into. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the raid. Certainly not at the last 4 minutes of Fridays at 4 episode. I'm not going to say it's this one. Um, we have a new raid coming in Vecna Unleashed. That'll be pretty cool. And we've said that, later in Q3 we have an updated raid that we'll be releasing as well. And that too is true. Oh, let me just do this. Yeah. The cast failed. I agree. It's a failed concentration check. On a spell that's not quickened. But I too have seen it happen where I've seen that go off, but it didn't actually fail the spell or anything. It was an erroneous display. Well, at least I think so. But since it's basically harmless, other than being a bug. So typically, Glassjaws, you want to be very careful when removing items from players' inventory. I understand what you're saying, that some people get tricked into maybe buying something on the auction house they shouldn't, thinking that a Night Revels ingredient is active when it isn't. And it does look like maybe there would be something we could do there at some point. But I don't know that the better solution is to start deleting things from character inventories. It's still better to just deprecate it and let people take care of that themselves. But I agree, there is that specific auction house portion of it which has been a little frustrating. Yes, we definitely did not commit to any kind of giant hold revamp. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Hooray. Well, we are pretty close to the end of the show here. So I've just been kind of hanging out and chilling towards the end. All right. Well, hey, this is a pretty chill show. This has been a pretty chill show. And why don't we just wrap it up here then? I'll be back next Saturday, or next Friday, rather, at 4 o'clock with more. We'll get into some interviews and have upcoming news about from Lamania and elsewhere here in the coming weeks. And then we've got our anniversary. which we've got quite a bit more that we'll talk about as well. I happen to know that there's a little bit of work being done on the anniversary fight, with Cordovin at least this year. A few little tweaks to that, like usual, and I think you'll enjoy what we've got in store for the anniversary this year. But we'll have a whole lot more about that in the coming weeks. So thanks so much for watching Friday at 4 on twitch.tv/DDoStream. I'll be back next Friday, 4 p.m. with more. Have a great day, everyone.